feel like this is an accurate representation of sliding into the weekend.
This is Sportcentre.
Hey, I'm Marissa Roberto, and we start with huge news, as Kyle Dubas will not return next season as Leafs general manager. Shanahan spoke to the media just moments ago and discussed the decision to part ways with Dubas. In the presser, Shanny explained how the Leafs fully intended on bringing Dubas back and how Dubas was ready to come back according to Shanahan. Then at Dubas' end-of-season presser Monday, when he said he was unsure about returning as Leafs GM, Shanahan had the thought that he may have to start looking for other options.
But it was a very real possibility for me at that point that I would be needing to look somewhere else. And it's, as part of my job, that is what I began to do while still hoping that Kyle and I could come to some sort of a resolution. What I would say then was in the next few days, I didn't get any more clarity.
Dubas and Shanahan did, however, meet and talk about the job midweek.
Wednesday, we did meet privately, and we discussed this again for a long time. I had probably more questions than answers, and I did not have clarity. It further made me feel that there's a strong possibility that rightfully anyone's right to do so, he might not want to be the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Later in the week, Dubas' agent reached out to Shanahan regarding the contract and the financial structure of the deal. And later in the day, Dubas reached out.
I did not hear from Kyle throughout the day, and I went home, and just before dinner time, I got an email from Kyle saying that he did want to be the general manager of the Maple Leafs. At that point, I have to, if I'm being honest, I had gotten to a different place about how I felt about the future of the Toronto Maple Leafs and what was best. And as hard as it was, and as hard as it is to make a significant change to somebody that you're close to and that you've been working with for 9 years, even though I was presented with, well, a gap had risen within the contract status. And, but nevertheless, the email that I received from Kyle, I just felt differently. And I felt that the long-term future of the Maple Leafs might have to change. And slept on that, and woke up this morning, drove to Kyle's office at Ford Performance Center, and informed him that we were not going to be renewing his contract.
Now, Shanahan was later asked if this thing broke down because of money.
I wouldn't characterize it as breaking down over money. I think, like I said, I think knowing and recognizing Monday after the availability that when a general manager is playing out the last year of his contract, there's always the possibility of a contingency that you might need a new general manager. He might choose to go to another team. And I think that I felt I had gotten a little bit closer and felt some indications that we were going to work this out. I would say after the press conference on Monday, I was less sure. And I thought there is a real possibility that he might not want to do this, and that he might need to, I think, as he said, take a step back.
Well, this is a lot, and there's a ton going on with the story. But moving forward, what kind of GM will the Leafs be looking for to replace Dubas?
What I would say is that I'm going to be open-minded to who that person can be. I want to be open-minded to all candidates. Certainly having an experienced general manager would be an attractive quality.
I think I speak for all Leaf fans when I say I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I really wanted this news to break, I don't know, on a Tuesday after a long weekend. We're really going into this long weekend with some interesting vibes, I'll tell you that for free. I don't know how most of Leafs Nation is feeling right now, but I, for one, am dead inside, much like Dude with the Sports Sign. He encapsulates my feelings perfectly on a cardboard. We got some sad news from the NFL. As Hall of Famer and arguably the greatest football player of all time, Jim Brown has died at the age of 87. Brown played only 9 seasons and was a 3-time MVP, 8-time All-Pro, and 9-time Pro Bowler. He was the NFL's leading rusher when he retired after 9 seasons. But Brown was so much more than his football career, as he was also an activist and actor, and considered by many to be the greatest lacrosse player of all time. Our heart goes out to his family, friends, and everyone who loved Jim Brown. The Western Conference Final kicks off tonight between the Stars and the Golden Knights in Vegas. And this one should be a doozy. For Vegas, this is their third conference final appearance in 6 seasons, which is a crazy amount of success to say the least. And it kind of seems unfair, no? To, I don't know, every other fan base that's been struggling and suffering for many, many years. Anyway, if you want to get even wilder, Bruce Cassidy is the third different coach to take the Golden Knights to the 3rd round, joining Gerard Gallant and the current Stars head coach Peter DeBoer. Coaches immediately find success with the Golden Knights, but is it this year that finally translates to a cup win? The glaring issue working against Vegas is goaltending, as Adin Hill had no playoff experience coming into this year and was thrust into action in the Edmonton series. But he looked great, winning 3 games with a .934 save percentage and a .219 goals against. That balloon can pop anytime with an unproven goalie though. And if the balloon doesn't pop, the Stars could be in trouble because the Golden Knights are loaded up front, led by the play of Jack Eichel, who also had no playoff games to his name before this season. And he's dominated with the team leading 6 goals and 14 points in 11 games. It's been a team effort though, with Mark Stone's 12 points, and the OG Knights of Marchessault, Smith, and Carlson combining for 12 goals and 26 points. This sounds like a lot for the Stars to handle, but Dallas is damn good too, and it starts with the leading remaining scorer of the playoffs, Rocco. The 26-year-old came into the postseason with 9 goals and 25 points in 44 career postseason games. But through 13 playoff games this year, he's equaled that goal total with 9 and has 19 points. Like Eichel though, Hintz is getting a lot of help. Sagan and Ben have been great with a combined 19 points. Rookie Wyatt Johnson has scored 4 times. And perhaps the 2 best deadline additions, Max Domi and Evgeny Dadonov, have combined for 20 points. The biggest question is actually in net, which is a surprise though, because Jake Ottinger has always been so solid in net. This postseason though, he's allowed 3 or more goals in more than half of his games. I'm sick of Vegas winning, as you know, and also we have a lovely Dallas Star fan on our Bardon team, Christian. We want the best for him, so we want Dallas all the way. To the association, and Game 2 between the Heat and Celtics goes down tonight in Boston. Now Game 1 gave us another classic Jimmy Butler performance, and it's getting to the point where these Jordan comps are just normal when looking at what Jimmy's been doing, especially on the defensive end. And we all saw the obvious as he recorded 6 steals, but when defending Jason Tatum, he locked him down, holding him to 38% shooting when matched up in the half court, while Tatum shot 60% when having a different defender matched up on him. And there's one thing for sure about the series that myself and I'm sure all Raptors fans are loving, and that's the return of Kyle Lowry on the big stage. Like this reaction when Bam Adebayo tells a reporter he's a phenomenal passer.
I'm a phenomenal passer, so that's when I can make the extra pass or...
Bombastic side eye.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. But I take it.
I had more assists than you.
You had the ball more than me, though. It's cool.
Anyways.
Phenomenal passer.
Yeah, phenomenal passer.
Oh man, I miss when he gave me side eye. Do you remember, Chris? We had a fun interview. And you can watch Game 2 between the Heat and Celtics tonight on TSN. Coverage begins at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. Time now for my favorite segment and yours, Why We Love Sports Today.
Why we love sports today.
A hole-in-one is special, whether you're 4 or 40. But why would we ever show you some 40-year-old finance bro getting a hole-in-one when we could just watch this 4-year-old do it? Oh, he's so cute. In his Crocs.
Get there. Get there. Get there. Get in the hole. Go in the hole. What? What? Rocco. Rocco.
He's
You
like,
just
okay,
hit a
whatever.
hole-in-one.
No, he doesn't
Rocco.
believe
You just hit a hole.
it. Rocco.
There's no way.
He is in those Crocs. It's okay, he's got sport mode on. He can run. Alright, this next video could not get anywhere in Western Canada. Specifically Alberta, because we did find it on the Small Town Alberta Instagram page. No, I see him catching a fish, but I didn't know you could ride a cow like that. Are you supposed to do that with a cow? Oh, you can ride a cow. Okay, we had to Google if you can ride a cow. Obviously, I'm not from Alberta. Okay, I'm from Saskatchewan, get it right. Yeah, I mean, this is pretty impressive though. That's a nice catch. That's actually a really good catch. Why is he's so casually cool about it too? Damn. Damn, Berta. Back to hockey, and history was made last night in Carolina, as the Panthers and Hurricanes played the 6th longest game in NHL history, as they almost went 4 full overtimes. What's crazy looking at this graphic is that the 2 longest games actually went 6 OTs. Imagine those 1930s crowds having to go through 8 intermissions without a phone. That line actually hurts me a little bit because we're now always on our phones, constantly on our phones. Anytime there's a whistle, I pull up my phone. What is this? This is madness. Before we dive deep into a ton of stats, let us remind you this game almost ended just over 2 minutes into the first OT, but a Panthers goal was called back on a questionable goalie interference. But I guess puck don't lie, as with 12.7 seconds left in the 4th OT. Matthew Tkachuk won it for Florida.
Tkachuk with a shot. He scores! Matthew Tkachuk with 12 and 7/10 seconds remaining.
This is the longest game in franchise history for both Carolina and Florida. But we got to talk about the play of Sergei Bobrovsky, who's been back to his Vezina form in these playoffs. He's now made 113 saves over his last 2 playoff games, which is the 6th most all-time. He's coming off back-to-back 50-save performances, which has only been done 3 times in the last 67 years. And with the win, the Panthers have now won 5 straight OT games to start the playoffs, which is just 2 short of the all-time record, as the 2003 Ducks won 7 straight. Kind of feels like there's a little Team of Destiny vibe going on in Florida right now. I did stay up for the game, but I'm not going to lie to you. It didn't have my full attention. I was also playing Zelda. So I didn't really feel what everyone else was feeling when it was like anxious about going into another OT. I wanted it to keep going because that means I could still keep playing Zelda. If it's not the Leafs, I'm sorry, it's not going to get my undivided. Like, once the Canadian teams are out, it's tough to keep my attention. I'm just going to be real with you. I feel like I'm speaking for many Canadians. The wait is finally over. The WNBA season starts tonight. And TSN has you covered with one of the title favorites starting Saturday, as the Las Vegas Aces take on TSN's own Kia Nurse and the Seattle Storm. Coverage begins at 3 Eastern, New Pacific. Now joined by our guy Wes Chang for the 2nd time this week. Great to see you, Wes.
Great to see you, Marissa.
Okay, with the season starting tonight, when looking at the MVP market, what stands out to you?
Looking back at the past winners, the last 6 MVPs have all played for the #1 team in the association. So even though this is the year of the super team, there's a reason why Breanna Stewart is the chalky option here. The Liberty were a fringe playoff team last year. This is a franchise that's never won the chip ever. So the narrative's really strong for Stewart to come over and potentially lift them into championship contention. But if you're looking for a non-super team option, all eyes are going to be on Brittany Griner, and she's finished runner-up for this award twice in her career.
Wes, a pleasure as always. We'll see you again next week.
Thanks for having me.
That's all for today. We'll see you right back on Monday. Have a good weekend.